Welcome to 5225, 52 Weeks of Loving Movies, week 13. And since that is my favorite number, I chose that as the week I was going to let my friends choose the movies that I watched. And what I did was I got a list of movies for my friends. Each of my friends who participated picked one movie, and I put that on a list, and then I let fate decide by let the computer randomly choose which movie I was going to watch each time I went to go watch a movie. And that resulted in the list of movies that you saw just ahead of this and that I will be talking about. So without any further ado, let's dive in. We're going to talk about the first movie on the list, which was chosen by my good friend and our favorite messy lesbian. Carly Perkins chose Ingrid Goes West from 2017. Now, this was a rewatch. I've seen this one a couple times, but I hadn't seen it in a while. And I was very excited to get to revisit it because it's one that I loved the first time I watched it. I was a big Aubrey Plaza fan, still am, but she was the primary reason I went and saw this, was I didn't really know many of the people in the movie at the time. Now I know most of them pretty well, which is really fun because there are so many actors in this movie that this was an early movie for them. So I didn't really know them the first time around, like Wyatt Russell, who, of course, I'd seen in stuff that he'd done with his dad, Kurt Russell, but I didn't really know who he was. I'd seen a couple other things that he was, had smaller parts in, still didn't really know who he was. But around this time, he had done a Black Mirror episode, which was really great. And then he was in this. And so I took notice of him in this. I didn't really find it. Like, I didn't really go into who he is until I think Falcon the Winter Soldier was the first time I was like, okay, who is this guy? And looked into him, and kind of where he kind of landed on the on the list for a lot of us was like, oh, there's this guy. That's pretty much where he became like a bigger presence in my viewing experience. But yeah, so this was one of the first ones where I actually like took notice. I was like, oh, this guy, he's pretty good. I saw him in that Black Mirror episode, but I had forgotten he was in it. When I wrote and rewatched, I was like, oh yeah, Wyatt Russell's in this. Another one is Billy Magnuson, who I thought I had seen for the first time in Game Night, which is a great movie if you haven't seen it. But apparently I'd already seen him in this movie. And there's a couple other things I guess that I had seen him in. I hadn't seen the Into the Woods movie yet at that point, because I had heard it wasn't very good. And Into the Woods is a musical that I really love. So I hadn't seen that yet at the time. So he was also someone who I just didn't know until this movie, and kind of put him on my radar. And then Game Night is really where I took note of him. There was also Palm Clementif, who I think that's how you say the name. Honestly, I'm realizing right now I don't think I've ever heard it said out loud. I've only read it, but from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and onward. She was like the big surprise when I watched. I was like, the other two, I was like, okay, I vaguely remember taking note of them in this movie back then, but I didn't remember that they were in it. This one, I was like, I had no idea she was in this movie, because this was before I would have ever had any knowledge of her, except for this. This is probably the first. I think this is the first movie I ever saw her in. I just didn't know it. And then her character is so much different as Mantis in the Guardians movies and the Avengers stuff that it was. I just never ever made that connection. As far as the film itself, though. It really holds up for me. I wasn't sure with time if the awkwardness I knew was coming was going to be worth the trip I was going to take on it, because I knew that I loved it. Like, I remembered that I really liked the movie, but I was not sure. I didn't remember I didn't know how to expect how well it was going to hold up. It ended up holding up really well. In fact, I had made all time top 5, I had made a list of my favorite non-horror movies, and one that I did not include was this movie, which I should have, because there's a lot of really great horror elements in this non-horror movie. Just really the discomfort and the obsession. It's all. It really makes for a really great horror movie as a non-horror movie. But the big thing, and this is something that I remembered, and was the one of the reasons I was excited to go back to it, is that Dan, played by O'Shea Jackson Jr., who by this point I believe had already done Straight Outta Compton, so I knew well enough who he was when I saw this movie. But his character Dan loves Batman, and as a massive Batman fan, it's something that I really identified with. In fact, he loves it so unabashedly that it makes me feel seen, and the movie doesn't make fun of him. There is some comedy that it does play it for a little bit of comedy due to his obsession, and it does. It is a unique quirk about him, but the movie doesn't ever make him feel ashamed. In fact, he embraces it so wholeheartedly and just always wants to talk to people about the Batman spec script he's writing, and the table read for the script, and connects with people over his love of Batman, which is something that I absolutely love as a Batman fan. He also loves Batman Forever, which up until The Dark Knight was my favorite Batman movie, and Val Kilmer, rest in peace. I'll talk about him a little bit later. Was my favorite Batman, live action Batman. Probably to this day, maybe I may have traded him up a couple times for someone else, but most consistent favorite on-screen Batman has been Val Kilmer. So the fact that he loves that movie so much, and just the character of Batman, it makes me feel seen, and made me very happy again on this rewatch, as happy as I was the first time around. But yeah, so that movie is really good. I'm going to try to get through these relatively quickly because there's several of them, and I don't want to. I don't want to make this inaccessible for anybody, especially my friends who want to watch it to see what I have to say about it. I don't want to make that. And I know that I have said many times, this is going to be a short one. I don't have a lot of time. And then they end up being the longest episodes. I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to make it, I'm for sure going to make it short, which is almost certainly the recipe for making this a long episode. So I apologize if that ends up being the case. One thing I'm going to do that I hadn't, that I should have mentioned earlier, is that for each of my friends that recommend these movies, I'm also going to recommend a movie to them. Now, with mine, it didn't matter if I'd seen it or not, and I'm going to do the same thing. Like, there's some that I'm sure you've seen. I just think you should watch it. That's really what it is. So I'm going to give you a recommendation. You are under no obligation to watch it, but it means a lot to me if you do watch a movie that I suggest. So, but that, again, completely up to you. No hard feelings if you don't have time or if you don't end up watching them. But for Carly, I know she loves queer movies. She loves lesbian movies. And I'm not sure if you've seen this movie, Carly. But again, even if you have, I'm still going to recommend it. In honor of the late David Lynch, I'm going to recommend to you to watch Mulholland Drive from 2001. It's been a very, very, very long time since I've seen it, and I owe it a rewatch. So I'm also going to watch it. So it'd be cool if we both watched it and got to talk about it. But yeah, so check that movie out if you can, if you have time. If you've already seen it, you can tell me in the comments what you think about it. But I also think it would be cool if we both watched it again, or you for the first time, you if it was, and talked about it. So I'm going to move on to my next movie, which was chosen for me by JD Domash. And it is Austin Powers International Man of Mystery. Now, when he picked this one, I was like, awesome, a movie I can quote front to back, which was the which was nice because even though I'm all about getting into some new movies, the movies I haven't seen, and stuff like that. It's nice to every once in a while get to those comfort movies, those movies I've seen so many times that especially because when this came out, like I watched the hell out of it. I watched it. I watched the VHS tape all the time, over and over again. So yeah, this is one that I basically know by heart, or I thought, because the version that I ended up watching was actually the UK release, which is the first time I ever watched a UK release. And so there are some scenes in it that I had never seen before, which is funny because I expected, like, I went into this thinking I can even just go on autopilot with this because I know what's going on. And then suddenly I see Christian Slater, and I'm like, Christian Slater's not in this movie. What the hell is happening? And I'm like, did I forget something? It's impossible that I've forgotten this scene with Christian Slater. And so I'm watching it, and as it goes on, the less familiar it becomes. And at one point, I'm just like, there's no way this part was in the film that I had seen. And so I went and looked it up, and apparently the one I was watching was a UK release. And on the UK release, there are several deleted scenes, and this is one of them where he hypnotizes Christian Slater, who's playing one of Dr. Evil's guards, with his eyebrows, and has him go get him some orange sherbet. It's a pretty funny scene, but I was like so surprised that I had never seen it. There are 2 or 3 other deleted scenes, and those that aren't in the American release, and those are funny little. And I get why they were removed, not for any content purposes, really, just because they kind of affect the flow of the film. And take you away from the action for each one of them, which I think is pretty funny, because what they are is that each time Austin kills one of Dr. Evil's henchmen, it cuts to like his family being called and being told that he was crushed by a steamroller, or had his head eaten by genetically altered sea bass, and stuff like that. So those were pretty funny. And Rob Lowe is in one of them, which is funny because he ends up playing the young version of number 2 in the future movie. So it's probably, I guess it's good that they left that out, because he ended up being in the franchise as a bigger character. But yeah, so this movie, it's impossible for me to be objective on it, because it's just so ingrained in my film history because of how many times I've seen it and how much I love it. Is it a perfect movie? No. Is it one of the most authentic versions of a James Bond movie? I would say yes. There's so much that they do in it. It's similar to how Galaxy Quest is one of the best Star Trek movies, that by parodying it, they are actually making something that's very true to the nature of those films. And this one is very true to the nature of a James Bond film in the way it does. In fact, more so, I would say, than a lot of the later James Bond movies. Even the Daniel Craig stuff, which I love, doesn't feel as much like James Bond as Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery feels. So that was a nice thing that I kind of realized as I'm watching it, with a little more, a little more film media literacy, a little bit more film knowledge under my belt. Watching it, I'm like, oh, okay, I can see that this is actually a really great homage to that makes it almost a faithful adaptation. And when it comes to parody, not long after this movie came out, the concept of the parody was very much ruined by the movies. The scary movies were, they started out pretty good parodies, and then they devolved into garbage. And then you had things like date movie, epic movie, disaster movie, those type of movies that were not parodies. They were redoing scenes from the movies and expecting that to be enough to make you laugh, because they were not lampooning the spirit of the films that they were lampooning. They were simply ripping them off and expecting that to make it funny, that they did it in a little bit of a different way. Austin Powers is the true standard, in my opinion, of what it takes to make a parody movie. It's not the only movie that ever did it right or anything like that. There are plenty of really great examples of great parody type movies, but this one just did it so well. But I'm going to move on to the next movie. Before I do that, I'm going to recommend to JD Coffee and Cigarettes from 2003, which was an anthology directed by Jim Jarmusch. Again, it feels like something you definitely would have seen, but if you haven't, definitely watch it. If you have, give it another watch. I'm going to move on to the next one, which was chosen for me by my good friend from actually, the other two were friends I've met on the internet and have never actually met in real life. This is actually a local friend, someone I have spent actual in-person time with, and that is my friend Clay Klauser, who chose A Knight's Tale. A Knight's Tale is another one like Austin Powers that I have seen so many times. Not as many times as Austin Powers, but he was like, "This isn't a first time watch. This isn't a first time watch, right?" I was like, "This isn't a 20th time watch," which is probably maybe an exaggeration, but I've seen this so many times. This is one that is actually was going to I had considered watching for last week, which was it last week? 2 weeks ago, which was modern adaptations of classic literature. But it's not a modern adaptation. It just has a lot of anachronisms that make it feel more modern, but it's obviously set in medieval times. So it didn't make the cut for that reason, which is nice, because then I got to watch it here for Clay. But yeah, it is a very loose adaptation of the Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer, who is a character in this film played by Paul Bettany. This is actually one of the first places I know Paul Bettany from. This came out in 2001. I don't think I'd seen a lot of his earlier stuff yet. I know he'd been in a couple things or a few things before this, but I hadn't actually seen a lot of his early stuff yet at this point. And so this is the first time I'd seen him here. It's also the first time I think that I had seen Alan Tudyk, who I went on to be a huge fan of, Mark Addy, who was this is true, the reason I watched Game of Thrones was because I was like, oh, Mark Addy is in that movie, is in that show. And then and Sean Bean being the other one, because I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I was like, yeah, I'm going to watch it for these guys. And then I don't want to spoil things, but if you know how that first season ends. Yeah, so they were all like, this is all like the first time that I'd really seen any of those actors, and just fell in love with all three of them. Heath Ledger and Shannon Sossamon were actors that I had seen. I believe I'd seen Shannon Sossamon before this. I don't believe this is where I know her from. It's just she was all over so much around this time that it's hard for me to pinpoint the first time I saw her, but I definitely knew her well enough. She's not an actress that I think is particularly good, but she does have so much weight, so much charisma, that it's hard to ignore her on screen. I don't think her performances are ever particularly nuanced or particularly good, but she is pleasant to see on screen. And that's not just because she's attractive. She just has a presence that is enjoyable to watch on screen. And then Heath Ledger, he was in 10 Things I Hate About You. That's basically where I knew him from. I was very happy to see him in another film. And he is, as I mentioned when I talked about 10 Things I Hate About You, he has become one of my favorite actors, and he left us far too soon. So that was so that cast is just incredible, and they really make this up. Of course, Rufus Sewell, I believe is how you say his name. I'd seen him in other things. He was in Dark City and stuff like that. I'd seen him in other things before this movie. But he's also really great. He always plays a character that kind of puts me off. So it's not hard to enjoy him because he's very good, but it is hard to remember that I enjoy him, I think. But yeah, so this movie is fun as hell. There's so many really great. There's so much great music in it. There's so much great. There's so many great anachronisms that make it whole lot of fun. And yeah, it's just a good time. If you've never seen A Knight's Tale, I highly recommend watching it. I assume it will hold up for people who didn't kind of like grow up, or it didn't come out in their formative years, so that they could enjoy it the way I do. But yeah, it's just a damn good time. I'm not going to be able. This is another one I'm not going to be able to properly review because it's just there's too much of it that is in me, So yeah, A Knight's Tale. It's a damn good time. So much fun. A man can change his stars. For Clay, I'm going to recommend a movie that I believe I've already recommended to him, but maybe this will be for sure that he watches it. And that is last year's 2024's Better Man, which is which is kind of a biopic about Robbie Williams, except he is a chimpanzee, which it's probably the best CGI animated animal I've ever seen in a film, just because of the way he emotes. Cinematography is spectacular in that movie. The editing is so good. There's so many really great like musical numbers in it. It's very good. I think you'll really like it if you haven't seen it yet. So yeah, for you, I'm going to suggest watching Better Man, which is funny because I say this a lot, but to me, for a long time, Robbie Williams was just the guy who did the Queen cover of "We Are the Champions" that for the music video at the end of the Knight's Tale VHS tape. So it's really fun that that's coming full circle for us here. But I'm going to move on to the next movie, which was chosen by my Frame Wreck co-host and founder of the Dill Pickle Movie Network, Dylan Randazzo, and that is The Taste of Things, which came out in 2023. Now, I know this one's very personal to Dylan, and he's been recommending it for a while, and so it was. I was actually kind of nervous to tackle this one because it's very personal, because he kind of attributes it. He had lost his aunt, who was very much into food. I'm not going to tell his whole story because I'm not going to do it justice. But he had lost his aunt not long before this movie came out, and it was and they had a really, really strong bond that had to do with food. And this movie is all about food and love. And so he wrote a really great review of this movie that was basically a memorial to his Aunt Kim. So I was nervous to watch it. I was always going to watch it on his recommendation, but I was nervous to give it a shot because or to be able to watch it and worried about what my opinion was going to be, just because I know how very personal this movie is to him because of that. And then when we did when the French a couple weeks ago, when I did French cinema as my it's last week when I did French cinema as the week 12, this was one of the movies that he recommended, and I just never got around to it. I was going to watch it. I was actually excited to go ahead and watch it so that I could watch it for him and kind of discuss it on that. But I never actually got around to it because I ran out of time. But he had made me like a list of 20 French movies that I should watch, because we have we share a love of French cinema. So this was one of them that he had wanted me to watch. And when I didn't, and I was asking him, "Hey, what movie do you want me to watch for week 13?" He was between a couple of them. They were all French. This is just movies that were on the list that I didn't get to. And then he decided to go with The Taste of Things because of how important it is to him. And I was grateful for just I mean, you never really need a reason to watch a movie, but I was just grateful that I basically had to, assuming that it got picked, and it did. I was grateful to be able to finally watch this and review it, which brings me to my review. And this is the thing that's been making me nervous, but I didn't need to because it's fucking great. Well, first of all, Juliette Binoche being in it, I didn't know she was in it, and so that was a nice surprise because she's a great actress, and I was very delighted to see that she was in this film, and she plays such an important role. I mean, I've seen like the poster stuff, I just never recognized that was her. So I was very delighted to see it was her. I'm gonna try to. My leg is shaking just because of the nerves I was doing. That's why my camera was shaking just now. I'm gonna have to keep this as brief as possible, but because there's so much I could talk about, and maybe I'll do a full video on this one sometime after I've given it another watch. The central themes in this movie, or at least from my interpretation of what I saw in there, are that number one, that food is art. The way they prepare the food, the way that they present the food, the way that they revere the food, that they admire the food. The food is definitely can definitely be an art form. You know, it's not like film where I say, you know, every movie is art. It's not like that. Not every piece of, you know, and not every meal created is art. But it is an art form to some people, and some people treat it as such. And that really is on display in this film, and it's beautiful the way that they treat food in this movie. And honestly, as I'm watching, I'm like, gosh, how are they eating so much of this food? It's insane. There's just so much that's being served here, and I think that is. I think a lot of when they're going through, you know, the amount of food that they're going through, I think it is almost part of the art to be able to consume the food in this way, in the way that you see them consume it, and I think that is all part of it. But another central theme in here is that food is love, and you see that in the way that the people who are creating the food together, the way they interact with each other, the way food is given as a token of love in some cases, as the way that someone prepares food is a gesture of love to someone that they currently love, or someone that they have loved in the past, to ensure that legacy goes on. Food is love. Food is art. But a thing that I kind of took from it, or kind of when I was thinking about it after, is that it's not just that food is art, it's that art is food. Art nourishes us. Art gives us what we need to go on and to continue throughout our day. Art supplies us with the energy or the stamina that we need in some cases to live. I mean, art is vital for life to many, many people. And while it's not a physical necessity like food is, it is still a necessity. Art is food for the soul of many, many people. It also, another thing that it kind of made me realize is that love is food. Love nourishes. Love keeps us around. We need, many people need love to survive. Love is food. It fills us. It nourishes us. It keeps us. It keeps our stamina. It keeps our head above the water. It keeps us here. And those are two important things that this movie really had me thinking about after. And maybe that is part of the intention as well. But it wasn't until after, when I'm thinking about the movie and I'm thinking about food is art and food is love, I'm also thinking, but also those things are food as well for many, many people. So yeah, Taste of Things is a film that I really, really, really liked. And I am so glad that I got to enjoy it, to watch it for Dylan and because of Dylan. And I look forward to watching it again, and maybe hopefully seeing it from another perspective, coming away with even more insight. For Dylan, I'm actually going to suggest something that it might feel a little bit unconventional. Um, and it's not, I mean, it's a movie directed by Frank Oz, but it's a stage performance by uh, a magician slash storyteller. It's called Derek Delgado's In and of Itself. And the reason I want him to watch it is because I haven't gotten a lot of people to watch it. I don't know if I've gotten anybody to ever watch it, but I've mentioned it to a lot of people. And the reason is because this thing, anytime I watch it, just I'm overcome with so much emotion, and I know that he is an emotional watcher as well. And so I want to see if it's just me, basically. I think number one, I think it's something he will enjoy. I think he will enjoy the spirit experience of this film. I believe it's on Hulu if you need a place to watch it, / Disney Plus. But I just need someone else's opinion on it, and I value your opinion, and I value and I think that because you are an emotional watcher like me, it might speak to you in some way, or maybe not. And I just need to know, even if you hate it, I need to kind of find out if if it was just me who was so affected by it, or if maybe it works for you as well. But that is what I am going to do. I'm going to move on to the next movie, and it's already running a little long, but I'm just enjoying talking about these things, and I'm not talking about them nearly as enough as I want. So it's getting long, and I'm having to cut them short. But the next one was chosen by a very, very important person to me. This is a person that I know in real life. It's a local friend, and I call her my surrogate sister because she's the only sister I have left, because my sister passed away a few years ago, and Michelle and I have been so close for years, and she is basically taken the mantle of sister for me, and not in a way that I am using her as a replacement, but in a way that she's always been a sister to me. She's just the one I have left now. So my surrogate sister, Michelle Wren, chose The Thing Called Love from 1993. This one is okay. This one is very interesting to me because she asked me, or she's like, "Have you seen this movie?" I was like, I don't know. I know what it is. I know that Sandra Bullock is in it, right? And I asked her, and she's like, yeah. It's like, okay, I know of it, and I know of it well enough that I either saw the trailer a lot of times or I've seen it, and I'm not sure which it is. So she decided that was the one, and then it got picked. So I got a chance to watch it. I will say here that I had never seen it. I had just seen the trailer apparently a lot, because this was a first time watch for me. And it's weird, for a movie I've never seen, I felt so much nostalgia for it as I'm watching it. And I can tell you that the main reason is because when I was a kid, and at this time in 1993, I was very much into country music. I'm not so much into country music anymore. There are some country musicians I still listen to from when I did listen to country, but there's no new country in my life. I'm not a country music listener. I'm not a country music fan, but I was very much back then. And this movie is about people who are trying to make it as country music writers or musicians, people who write country songs or who perform country music. and it's so much of the soundtrack was just very nostalgic. A lot of kind of the stuff they were doing and saying felt very nostalgic because of the time frame and just kind of that culture, and it all felt very, very familiar to me. So that made this movie actually a very, very pleasant watch for me. Um, is it was it my favorite? No. Um, is it one I'd recommend to a lot of people? Probably not. Am I glad I watched it? Absolutely. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie, and I think a lot of it has to do with that nostalgia that I felt for it. Um, there are a couple things that surprised me as it started. Number one, uh, Sandra Bullock, who I knew was in it, and River Phoenix, I knew was in it. Samantha Mathis. Um, I, she's not a huge name anymore. I don't know if she ever was a huge name, but I do. There's plenty of things that I have seen her in. I just didn't remember or realize that she was going to be in it, so that was nice. But the big one was Dermot Mulroney, who honestly I wasn't sure had done any movies before for My Best Friend's Wedding. That was the first place I ever remember seeing him, and I'm sure he has. And I'm sure I've seen him even maybe, but this one I was surprised he was. I was like, wow, he's so young and very attractive, if I might add. But there was just that I was very surprised to see him in it. He ended up being probably my favorite character in the movie too. I was really because there's kind of a love triangle that happens in this movie between Samantha Mathis, River Phoenix, and Dermot Mulroney, and I was. Even though it was kind of the obvious, like big relationship thing in this movie was going to be River Phoenix and Samantha Mathis' character, I was very much pulling for Dermot Mulroney, especially as the movie went on. I was like, oh, come on. I think it does in a very satisfying way, even if it's not exactly what I wanted. I think that there is a satisfying conclusion to this, and that's not saying really one way or the other on that, because you just have to see it to see what the conclusion is. But there was a lot about this that really, really worked for me in a way that was kind of surprising. The other surprising thing was that, and before I mention that, River Phoenix, this was his last completed film before he died. The last film of his that he had seen also before he died. But it was his last completed film before he died. And, that's such a tragedy. For me, he's always, no matter how many things I've seen him in, I've seen him in so much, but he'll always be Indiana Jones as a young man from the beginning of Last Crusade. So every time I see him, that's what I think about. But he's good. He's good in this movie, and you can tell that there's some demons boiling below the surface of that performance, and it's tragic that he ended up dying so young. But the other big surprise for me was that as I was preparing, as this movie was starting, it was going through the opening credits, and to see that it was directed by Peter Bogdanovich, and I was like, "What?" I was not expecting that, and this was the year after Noises Off. This was I was completely surprised that this, what I had deemed was probably going to be pretty mid-range, just from the description of it, was directed by such a prolific director. So that was pretty cool. I will say that of Peter Bogdanovich's movies that I've seen, it is lower tier for me. But again, it's one that I would it's probably one that I would go back to more often, simply because of how the nostalgia that I felt made me feel. So this movie is dripping with 1990s country music scene. It really feels of the era, because it is of the era. And if you were a person who listened to country music in the 90s, there's a lot of it's going to feel really familiar to you. And I would recommend that this movie to you as well. But thank you, Michelle, for recommending this to me, because I'm very glad I watched it. For you, Michelle, the recommendation I'm going to make is a movie you may have seen. I don't know, but watch it again. And it is Bros from 2022, written by and starring Billy Eichner, directed by Nick Stoller. It feels like a movie that you probably have seen, because I feel like it's one that you'll love. It's one that I loved. It really, I really connected with that movie a lot, and really very much enjoyed it. And if you haven't seen it, I'm excited for you to watch it. If you have seen it and you are willing to watch it again and let me know how you feel about it on the rewatch or on the first time watch, however it works for you. So I'm going to move on from Thing Called Love to my next movie, which is by another one of my online friends, one of my very, very good friends that I made just from being in the film community, and that I've grown really, really close to, and that is Stacey Morris. Now, it is well known that Stacey has a love for certain actors that she puts above everyone else, and one of those actors is, and I think probably the highest, maybe, is Matt Damon. And so when she's trying to come up with something, she really wanted me to watch something that I had never seen. So she's going through a bunch, but she and I have very similar taste in certain types of movies. So she's like, anything I would want to recommend to you, you've almost certainly seen. And, so what I did was I made a list of the notable Matt Damon movies I hadn't seen and sent it to her, and she looked at the list and within seconds was like, oh, well, in that case, it's We Bought a Zoo, which is what I watched. I watched We Bought a Zoo, which was chosen by Stacey Morris. Now, I had avoided this one for a long time because it just didn't look like something that I would enjoy. It looked, number one, the premise seemed silly to me. I love Cameron Crowe, but it just didn't. There was something about it that just from the trailers didn't feel like it felt like a Cameron Crowe. He does the safe picture before he gets to do something he likes. Like that's how it felt to me. And so I just didn't ever get around to watching it. You know, it wasn't that I was opposed to watching it; it just wasn't high on my list or anything like that. So then I'd heard a few things. I'd heard things like that it was, tries too hard, or that it's too saccharine, stuff like that. But I was excited to actually get to watch it because I love a good excuse to watch any movie, and I gotta tell you, this movie is so sweet. It's such a sweet movie. Is a little saccharine, sure, but not overly so. I think that there's a lot of balance in this. There's some good laughs. There's some good drama. There are some things that are maybe a little over dramatic, but I think that serves the movie really well. The soundtrack kicks ass. Of course, because it's Cameron Crowe, he'll always give us a really great soundtrack. But it's just really, really sweet. And I think that it's one of Matt Damon's better performances in the last years. I think he does good work. It's not that there are any that I'm like, oh, that was a bad performance, but there is a sincerity to this film that I feel like he is the primary reason the film feels so sincere. And that's good. I think that gives that balances it in a way that the saccharine side isn't overtaken, because as Stacey had said, because we were talking about this, is that it's not even necessarily that it's too sweet or sentimental. It's that it's too that it is earnest. And I agree. I feel like it is a very earnest film. I feel like he brings the earnest to the forefront. I feel like his performance, it all hinges on his performance, and that you believe what he is going through and that he feels what he is going through. I will say that the little girl in this movie, Maggie Elizabeth Jones, is just so adorable, but she's not just adorable. She's incredibly believable. She hands in a very solid performance, and is probably the other side of she balances out a lot of what Matt Damon has to do. Like, that is the balance for me. Like, she is this innocent, sweet little girl character who is being played in very convincingly by this little girl, because she is a little girl, balanced with Matt Damon's, the struggles that he is going through, and all that he has going on in his life, and what he's having to do, balances really, really well. And I think that she does an incredible job. I think Scarlett Johansson is really great. I think that basically everybody is really great in this film. Thomas Hayden Church, I was surprised to see him in it, and I was very glad because I love him. He's very funny, and they use him they use him for his strengths in this movie, and I think that is really great. And he was very, very entertaining in this film as well. So We Bought a Zoo I really liked. Thank you, Stacy, for choosing it, because I was delighted by its sweetness and its earnestness. For Stacy, I'm going to recommend a movie that just came out, and I know I've actually already told her that I think she'd like it, but it's when I think about things to recommend to her, this is the first thing that pops, because it feels like there's something about this movie that feels like it was made for the two of us. I think she will really enjoy it, and that is Freaky Tales, that just came out. It's in theaters. If you get a chance, Stacy, go check it out. I think you will really like it, and I hope you don't hate it, because it does feel like the kind of movie that people are either going to really like or really hate. I imagine that would be. I don't believe in there being no middle on anything, but I feel like there's a lot of people who will feel strongly in one direction or the other. I feel like Stacy, you're going to be on the loved it side, and I hope that rings true. So, Freaky Tales, go watch it, please. But I'm going to move on to the last movie that I watched for this, which was chosen by my newest friend, the friend in this list that I have known the least amount of time, but our friendship has grown really, really strong in the last year and a half or so, a couple years maybe, and that is Kelsey Kilpatrick, who recommended Sydney White from 2007, I believe. Is that right? Yes, 2007. Now, this one I almost watched for the modern retellings of classical literature as well, because this one is based on Snow White. And it had always kind of been on my radar because it has two of the seven dorks that are in it are people that I like very much, because Sam Levine from Freaks and Geeks, who's also Movie Trivia Schmodown champion, Sam Levine is in it, and then Danny Strong, who played Jonathan on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is my favorite show of all time, and is a successful TV writer. He wrote two really great HBO political dramas, Game Changers and Recount. He also created Empire, I believe, or co-created Empire. Anyway, Danny Strong is one of them as well. So that had always been on my radar anyway, but it just always seemed like a movie I wouldn't enjoy very much. So I was very, very nervous, and it's kept me from watching it several times. But I love putting on a movie that maybe I won't enjoy. I often have occasionally, if I don't have like a big project I'm working on or something, I'll like have a rule, like I'll have to watch like one movie that I generally would never watch a week. And so I do enjoy watching movies that just aren't ones that I think that I would enjoy, or that I'd be very, would be within my wheelhouse. But Kelsey said she wanted me to watch it, and she really hoped I loved it. And so that made me even more nervous. And I got to tell you, Kelsey, I found this rather enjoyable. Not great. I will not say love, but I did enjoy it way more than I expected to. And a lot of it has to do with the seven dorks. They are very, very funny, particularly Dopey. whatever his name was, the one the really dumb one. He's very, very funny. The I mentioned this during my classic or modern retellings of classic literature, because Amanda Bynes was in two of those. This would have been three if I had done this one for that. Apparently, she does a lot of these. Amanda Bynes, I think, is very, very funny. She doesn't work quite as well for me, and She's the Man, just because her male version just doesn't really hit for me. But she's just very funny, and I think she continues that very funny streak into this movie. I guess I shouldn't be too surprised that I enjoyed it, because as I mentioned, do really like modern retellings of classic literature. So it was bound to be one that I at least enjoyed a little bit, and I did. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So I appreciate you suggesting this, Kelsey. As a massive dork myself, I was very pleased with the pro dork messaging within this film. And although it did use the dorks and their interests for comedy fodder a lot of the time, I did never feel like the film thought less of them than their messaging, because you get that a lot. Sometimes the film, even if the messaging is correct, the treatment of those characters is dehumanizing and makes them doesn't treat them with the respect that they deserve. So the pro dork messaging and the treatment of the characters in this, I found very satisfying. So I was very glad to that's how it looked. But thank you, Kelsey, because I did, as I mentioned, enjoy this movie quite a bit more than I thought I would. For you, Kelsey, if I can recommend a movie to you, I'm going to recommend Poor Things from 2023. Emma Stone stars in it. Yorgos Lanthimos movie. I don't know if you've seen that, but I recommend watching it, and please tell me what you think of it, either on your first watch or a rewatch. But that's it. I want to thank all of my friends who contributed to the list of movies that got chosen from. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to suggest something to me. Recommendations are sacred to me. There's a really good chance that if you suggest something to me directly, if it's a blanket, people should watch this. It's a little bit different, but if you directly say, I think you would like this movie, you should watch this movie, I'm going to watch it. And it's because recommendations are sacred to me. And that's why, sometimes if I recommend something and people don't watch it, I get a little sad. That's not to say that anything that I've recommended to you people that you should not, my friends that are watching, if I recommend one of these things I've recommended, you don't watch, that's fine. I'm not saying that. It's recommendations are sacred to me. So I appreciate the time you took to find a movie that you wanted me to watch. And to my friends whose movies did not make it on this list, I'm going to try, assuming that it works out, I'm going to, if the movies that you suggested fit into one of the other categories for future weeks, I'm going to I'm going to prioritize your movies as part of those, because I do want to get to all of them. I mean, majority of what's left I have already seen, but I still want to watch them. And so I am going to, if they fit into one of these categories, I'm going to do them so that I can watch them and then review them. If they don't end up fitting into one of these categories, I'm going to watch it anyway, still. Just maybe not for a video as I will for the other ones if I can. So yes, thank you to all my friends who suggested these movies. Thank you to all of you for watching. Now it is time for next week's preview, week 14 preview. And I actually have changed week 14. Week 14 was going to be something else, and I decided to move it. It's going to be movies about movies, which is one that I was very much looking forward to. I was very excited about. But I decided to move that to a different week. I don't remember which week I moved it to or what got bumped for it. But I moved that to a different week because Um, Something happened this week that devastated me, and I felt like I needed to address that in a video, and this is my wife's idea. So on April 1st, as you saw at the beginning of this video, Val Kilmer passed away, and Val Kilmer was a very big presence in my life growing up. He was always one of my favorite actors. He was very, very important to me. He gives my favorite performance of all time in Tombstone. He played Batman as my favorite Batman on-screen or live-action Batman for years. That had been the case, and I've seen so many of his movies and loved so many of his movies that I can understand why other people don't like them. Like, that's the kind of actor he is to me. And sometimes I forget how much he means to me. Like, for my 40th birthday over on Dill Pickle Movie Network, they did a draft day that was dedicated to me, and I picked my top 8 living actors, and Val Kilmer wasn't on that list, and he should have been, because I overlooked him, and I shouldn't have. His death it hurt a lot, and not in the way that most celebrity deaths hurt me. Like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I liked them so much, and it's really sad. His was on the level of Robin Williams, who was also someone that was very, very important to me in my life, throughout my life. So that's the kind of level that it felt like for me. And so I decided to change it, and next week's theme is going to be remembering Val Kilmer. I'm going to watch some Val Kilmer movies. There are some actually pretty important ones that I haven't seen. There's a lot that I have seen, and I'm going to be excited to rewatch those. But there's a couple real important ones that I've never seen, and so I'm excited to get to those as well. So tell me in the comments, what are some of your favorite Val Kilmer movies and performances? What are some you think I should watch? What about the movies that I watched that my friends have suggested? What do you think of those? How do you feel about the way I felt about those? How do you feel? Talk to me in the comments. Thanks.